it was possible to achieve not only power within Germany, but strength within fascist elements all over the world. In Spain, they tried the same thing. The military called for the overthrow of the Republican government of Spain and staged a coup. And from over 40 countries, volunteers began to arrive in Spain. Men and women could come and pick up arms and fight the fascists, the first time that happened in the history of fascism. And in the United States, the cry went up, what about us? Why can't we go to Spain? There was no way I was going to stay out of this conflict in Spain. I saw action as an infantryman and was wounded in the course of it. And as a result of being wounded, wound up in a hospital at Mataró. In the hospital, what we did for entertainment, of course, was have entertainers come out and sing, and a couple do flamencos and things like that. One day when they ran out of entertainers and we had to fall back on our own resources, the chief of entertainment called on us all to come up on the stage one at a time and sing the Internationale in whatever language was our own language. And well over 40 languages were represented on the stage. Each one would sing a few words in their own language and then go on to the next one, or we would have been there all night. And then finally everybody sang the song together in their own languages, so that we heard it sung in Javanese, and we heard it sung in Tamil, and we heard it sung in Hindi, in English, in French, in German, in Russian, in Spanish, in every which language you could think of, and more, and many, many more. It was sung in Yiddish as well. Steht auf für alle, wer wie Sklaven. Arise, you, those of you who were slaves.
At least through the 20s, anarchists, socialists, and communists, and perhaps other trade unionists simply sang the Internationale. But at some point, motion picture newsreels, and then ultimately television, began to show Red Army parades in Moscow. Somehow in my mind, the Internationale lost its early association of a general radical song and somehow became a Soviet song. And for people who reveled in the tanks in Red Square and the mausoleum and Lenin's tomb and the scowling Stalin, you know, the great father, I'm sure that the Internationale was very stirring. But for non-communists, the Internationale began to pick up a pejorative overtone.
One trouble with making something official, I think it's worse than banning it, it tends to cramp its style. It was sung briskly first, then they slowed it down to make it ponderous. Pum, pa, pum, pum, pa, pum, pump. Becomes very much an establishment kind of a song.
Well, I remember once I was at a Central Committee meeting of the Communist Party, and someone brought in a Jamaican reggae-ized version of the Communist Internationale, with all the beats, with a little Bob Marley, with a little Jimmy Cliff, and so forth.
Arise, you toilers of all nations, condemned to misery and woe.
And I, quite frankly, dug it. But I can remember some of the comrades, some of the older comrades, and just could not understand how this song could be bastardized.
There is considerable tension within the Internationale based on a portion of the text. You know, when Potier wrote the Internationale, he used the lines, at least in French, roughly translated, "No more traditions, chains shall bind us." The notion was that working people, in breaking with capitalism or imperialism, would wipe the tablets clean. that is, would wipe away the superstitions of the past, the religions of the past, and as free men and women, would hail a new dawn, a red dawn. Well, interestingly, you cannot get your act together or function with any passion if you don't believe in certain traditions.
I have an ambivalent feeling about the words of the song. On one hand, I still remain as moved as I was when I was a youngster emotionally by hearing a stirring call to fight, to struggle, to challenge. On the other hand, there's a sentence in that song, "No more traditions change shall bind us," that I had a kind of ironic double take on, because I felt one of the problems with the movement was that precisely traditions change had bound us, and that all too often concepts were accepted, went unchallenged, simply because it had always been accepted.
Arise, ye prisoners of starvation.
起来，全世界受苦的人。
Кипит наш разум возмущенный, и в смертный бой вести готов.
Olam yashan na dehaisod nachrima.
Laya nating sinisiil.
El mundo va a cambiar de base.
You have been naught, you shall be all.
'Tis the final conflict.
Reprenons fait demain internationale.
Shall be the human race. Boom, boom. That's my jazz too.
The words that this will be the last battle, the last war, something so many people have wished and has not come to life yet. Many times when I sang this song, I really hoped, I really believed that there would be a time that there would be no wars. That's something maybe when we were young we could sing without thinking twice.
Вставай, Сибирью закаленный, о верный сын большевиков. You know, this song reminds me of my childhood, when we believe in the words of International. And you can understand me when we remind of our childhood. It's very important for our heart. That is why when I hear now International, I feel the beautiful melody again and again. But I feel the tragedy too. The tragedy of my father. He was a communist, and when he was very young, he believed in this, but he understood that all this story, this is a false story. And he told me about it. That is why when I hear now International, the International, my feelings is very complicated. I feel in this my childhood, but I feel in it the tragedy of all our life.
The tragedy is that people who sang the International went in 1936 to Spain. and many have given their lives. A tragedy is that the people who were in power in Russia, the Soviet Union, were not worthy of the cause that people gave their lives